Welcome to the Billy Shultz Music Podcast.
All right, man. Hey, how are you?
Hi, good to be here. I'm great. I'm unstoppable.
Hey, always.
You
man,
already
always.
know.
I appreciate you doing this with me, man. It's I know you seem like you're pretty busy, so I'm very appreciative you took the time out of your day to chat with me here.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, brother. Just start from square one. Introduce yourself. Let everyone know who you are, where you come from. How long you've been doing this thing. Just start us off from square one.
Sure. So I'm Dre DiMura. I'm from New Jersey by way of Los Angeles and also Nashville. I kind of bounce around a whole lot, but I started my professional career in music when I was like 14, 15. Did a lot of touring when I was in my 20s, pre-COVID. Still doing a lot of playing, live playing and sessions and things like that. Kind of in my time in LA, I also did a lot of TV, film, commercial work, syncs and things like that. And then kind of made my way to TikTok and the digital side of things during the pandemic. And now I'm here.
And that's where you're finding like the most success right now, right? Is the TikTok.
Yeah. That was like 18 years or I don't know, 15 years in 15 seconds.
I love it. Yeah, man, congrats on your success. It seems like, the TikTok thing is really working out for you. That's awesome. You said you started playing guitar when you were 13, 14, or were you just guitar, singing, a little bit of everything, or were you kind of mainly guitar focused?
Yeah, so I started when I was about 12. I had guitars around. My dad is a musician. He plays piano. So there was always like percussion and an acoustic guitar and the piano in the house and stuff. So I had noodled around and kind of played like dress up with the guitar when I was a kid. I was obsessed with Santana
Nice.
when the Smooth came out with Rob Thomas, and it would always be on the radio in the car and stuff. So
Absolutely. Yeah, great track.
Amazing. Honestly, like I know it's like a meme now, but if you go back and listen to it, like it definitely stands up.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, no, incredible record.
Yeah. So I was like really electrified by that. And I would like put the bandana on and literally like dress like Carlos Santana and like just like air guitar to the song with this little like half size nylon string guitar that we had around the house. But then when I was 12, actually through the Guitar Hero games, I got into like, electric and actually like working on playing guitar. So trying to learn the songs that I liked from the game in real life.
It's so funny how I feel like so many of us who are like around our age, Guitar Hero has some sort of role, like it's played some sort of role in either like motivating us or because I was the same way when I started. It was a lot of Guitar Hero and then trying to translate that onto my actual guitar.
Yeah. What song was it for you, or what game was it that really inspired you?
It was the original Guitar Hero, and all the like the first tracks that you would play, I was kind of just immediately, taken over. I was like, this is really cool to play on this game, but how much harder is it to translate to the actual guitar? And that was like, mind blowing, because I was like, the two are very, very different. Even though there's similarities, they're just very, very different. But all those first tracks on the first game, I would try and master them on Guitar Hero, and then as soon as I would try and learn them on the regular guitar, I would kind of get put in my place a little bit. I'm like, yeah, it's not as easy as I thought it was gonna be.
I actually always thought some of the songs were easier in real life than they were in the game. I think the game got more accurate as time went on. Mm-hmm. But kind of in the very early, like the first Guitar Hero and even the second game, there was stuff that was just like so beyond what it actually was to play it in real life. You're like, oh, okay, like I can kind of like hack my way through that. But on the game, you're like trying to keep up.
Yeah, it's so funny. I never played any of I don't think I even played. I might have played the second one, but I never played much of the ones after that. But yeah, it's so funny how that plays a role in like a lot of our childhood and the direction that we're taking to learn guitar. It's so funny.
I actually didn't. I wouldn't say that like in the past. I imagined and I knew that it was a part of like all of our formative musical experience. But there was like this, I can't remember her name, but like a really well-known session guitarist who's played with like Thundercat and stuff. In like a YouTube interview, they were like, so like what inspired you to play guitar? She's like, Guitar Hero. I was like, all right, I'm going to own that one from now on. I'm going to start telling people like,
absolutely.
I was a huge Guitar Hero fan. And that was like the inspiration for me. It was the first game had Bark at the Moon, Ozzy, with Jake E. Lee on guitar. And there was a behind the scenes clip in the game that was like, they filmed the session because all those songs were cut by, they didn't buy the master licenses for the early games. So they would like re-record the songs. It was cheaper to get the rights to the composition and re-record it than it was to actually master or license the master recordings of the real artist. So they had all these like Tim Pierce and Pete Thorne, like these really well-known LA session guitar players come in and like cut all that stuff. So they had a behind the scenes clip that was like, you think the Bark at the Moon solo is hard in the game? Well, watch, so-and-so nail it in real life. And it was them in the studio and he was playing the solo. And I was like, that has to be the hardest thing ever made on guitar. Yeah, I didn't know. I hadn't heard any, I was naive, I was young. But I like showed it to my dad. I was like, this is the hardest thing ever played on guitar. And he was like, have you heard of Eddie Van Halen? And then sat me down that night and played me Eruption for the first time. So funny how it just like, it planted a lot of seeds, I think, and also gave a whole life, second life to that music that I don't know if, we would still be, as many of those artists would still be as relevant as they are now if Guitar Hero hadn't been such a nuclear thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it brought a lot of relevance to a lot of those artists, and pretty much all those songs are classics. So, they have their place, but definitely, introduce those songs to a new generation for sure of kids who might never have, been a part of that to begin with. So, and that's funny. I didn't even know that they did like a behind the scenes video for it. I totally missed that. I might have to go back and check that out because I had no idea that they did anything like that. I knew that they didn't have the license for the masters. I had assumed that they had just re-recorded the tracks, but I didn't even think that they had like a behind the scenes kind of footage. That sounds like it's interesting.
Really cool.
Do you have any, did you go to school for music? Do you have any like proper schooling? Are you self-taught? Like what's your education background with it?
Yeah, so I'm definitely not self-taught. I would never say that. I didn't go to college for music. Grew up around a lot of music, obviously, and started quite young. And but I am, more or less like well-versed in theory, and that's something that I was really passionate about. That I did study. Like, I had guitar teachers and private teachers, and I went to School of Rock in New Jersey when I was a teenager. So I was getting guitar lessons pretty consistently after like the first year that I played at home where I was self-taught, from Ultimate Guitar and all that. So it's basically like guitar websites and Guitar World magazine. And then I had my first teacher after about a year of kind of teaching myself. And then for like 4 or 5 years, I pretty consistently took guitar lessons until I was like 18 is when I had my last kind of big batch of master lessons with a teacher named Vic Juris, actually a really renowned jazz guitar player that recently passed away from cancer, but he's native to New Jersey where I grew up, and he played with like Ella Fitzgerald. And I met him at a hotel. He was playing in a hotel, like and I recognized him from a Guitar World column, and I went up to him and I was like, oh my God, you're amazing. Do you still teach? He's like, yeah, like come by the house. Like we'll do some lessons. So I would drive up to his place in West Orange, actually, where Thomas Edison is from, and take a lesson like once a month with him. So I had really good, instruction just outside of like a formal, college or arts high school or anything like that.
Gotcha. So the guitar lessons, but no like, university teaching or anything like that. Cause I saw on one of your TikToks, you were saying something about wanting to go to the Musicians Institute that's here in LA. You're still in LA, right? Yeah. Yeah, I am too. So we're right next door to each other.
I bounce around.
Absolutely. But so you never ended up going to the Musicians Institute, right? Is that what I was getting from that?
No, I didn't. The video was, it was a reply to Corey Wong, great guitar player, I'm sure you know. And he made a joke about guitar tabs and getting, have you ever gotten fired from a gig for using guitar tabs? And I replied and said, no, I haven't gotten fired from a gig, but I did save like quite a bit of money. And the joke or the story was that I had called Musicians Institute when I was, 13 maybe. I was a huge Paul Gilbert fan. And he obviously went to MI, I guess in the late 80s, sometime in the 80s, and taught there like in the early 90s. And I was obsessed. Obviously John 5 went to MI. So a lot of my heroes when I was like just starting out, would talk about it in YouTube clips and interviews and things like that. So I was like, I have to go here, obviously. And LA, it's like the dream. So that was like my plan when I started. I was like, all right, I'm going to go to this guitar school and I'm going to go to LA and like do the thing. So I called them to ask. I was a very audacious kid. I was like, I called admissions, I'm like 13, little early, but I was like, hey, like, I really want to go here. And, I'm a huge Paul Gilbert fan. And like, whoever was in the admissions office that day, I guess like might've just been having a bad day and was like, well, do you read music? And I was like, no, I like learn guitar tabs. I literally just started playing guitar, like 6 months.
Right. And
he's like, oh, well, our bachelor's program or whatever it was at the time. He's like, it's for, train, people who read music and you have to go through this thing and that thing. And it was like kind of some gatekeeping, right? That I was just like, okay. And I just hung up and just like I just dropped it after that. I was like, all right, whatever. I'm not going to do that now. So I like didn't even pursue it at that point. So if I had gone, I mean, I'm sure I would have had a fine experience, but it is up there and a little pricey. So
Sure.
I responded to that video to be like, I didn't get fired from a gig for being a tab reader, but when I was a teenager, I did dodge out some loans because I decided not to go to MI.
Yeah. That's it's tough, because you want to get a quality education, but I mean, some of these schools are extremely expensive. So yeah, I mean, and it sounds like, I mean, a lot of people would argue that the one-on-one lessons are almost an even better investment, especially if you get, a teacher like you said that you had. So there's a lot of, you can kind of go back and forth to say like school versus one-on-one education,
I do. And I have nothing against it too. I think that's important. I think you can be critical of something and also not, and understand that it also works for a lot of people, so I didn't make the choice to go to music school. But there are plenty of people who are hugely successful, people that I work with, that I know and that I respect. I think what it comes down to is two things. What you're going to learn is more or less worth its weight in gold if you apply yourself, but you're going to get back whatever you put in, and given that it's music, it's not the kind of thing where like you simply go and get the degree and you stand a better chance of getting a job in your field because you have that degree. Like if you were an engineer or a doctor or a software engineer or something like that, like you don't get a competitive advantage because you have a degree in music. Really, to work in the field, it's all your network. And it's, network is your net worth and all that. And it's always been that way. So if you're going to go to music school because you are passionate about the craft of composition or harmony or music or orchestration or production or performance or whatever it is, and you apply yourself, I'm sure you're going to get a lot out of that, like as far as the investment in yourself and the quality of musician that you will become from that. And then on the other side of that, there's the networking aspect of it, where, a lot of people do say that like the reason you go to music school is really just to meet people and meet other musicians and people that you're going to come up with. So I benefited. I had the privilege of going to, the extracurricular music school when I was a teenager, and also, taking some trips out to LA and, beginning to build a network pre-college, so that by the time that, college age came, I wasn't wholly dependent on that to build that network. But I believe that for people who maybe don't have as much access, the ability to go to a music school to make connections and meet people and make friends, because those are the connections that you keep through your career. And there's a little lag period maybe after graduation, but then you see down the line, like all of those things start to come full circle. The people that you met 15 years ago are like, you're working on something, or they're like throwing you a gig, or they're the MD on something, or they're working with some artist and they're like, I got to call so-and-so. So I think there's like two aspects to it. And I think it's really just like an individual person, it comes down to the individual.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's all about, your skill set, but also who you know. I mean, point blank, it's very interesting once you start to see, I knew this person and they got this gig and they need someone with my skill set. And then, it's just kind of like all the dominoes can fall into place for you. So yeah, I see what you're saying about how not only are you there to get an education, but it's also you building that network is really what the combination of the two is what is going to really help someone be successful, I feel like.
Absolutely.
So talk to me a little bit about you moved to LA. Were you already like getting gigs? Were you doing session work? What were you doing when you moved here to kind of like get by?
Yeah, so I had played in some bands back east, local bands in Philly and New York, and I had always wanted to do the session thing. That was like a dream of mine. Kind of once I saw Nuno Betancourt from Extreme was playing guitar for Rihanna, and I remember watching the Grammys in like 2011 or 2012. Don't quote me, but Nuno was on stage, and I recognized him, and I didn't know at the time, like, I still had the rose-colored glasses on, where like, to me, if you were in a famous band at any point, then you were like, loaded like MTV Cribs. So why would you be, like, I didn't know you could play for an artist or anything like that. So I saw Nuno like playing for Rihanna on the gig, and I was like, that's amazing. I want to do that. So I kind of like set my sights on that. Wanted to move to LA for a while. I'd had a lot of like trips to LA to go to NAMM and things like that. And I had started to build a network there. And then when I finally pulled the trigger, it's funny because I got to LA and I had, built up all this, the intention to do the sessions. But I also had a project at the time, like a solo project band, that I was recording and releasing music with. And I put that out. And then on Craigslist, I had put an ad out looking for band members to play live. And someone found my post and they needed a guitar player for their band. So I joined that band. And then almost immediately as I was, like doing this music thing, this TV thing happened for me, where I had met a manager who specifically represented musicians in like commercial film and print. And she sent me out on my first audition. I met with her at a Starbucks. She's like, cool, I'm going to send you out on some stuff. The next day, I drove to Santa Monica to do this like glam rock thing. She's like, go like big glam. It's for this TV show for HBO. Go, kill it. Never done anything like this in my life. I show up with my guitar. They're like, can you just like do like a big move? And I was like, all right. So I literally just did like a David Lee Roth I don't know how you would call it, like the aerial jump kick, and like did a guitar windmill and then like landed. And they were like, okay, thank you. And that was it. It was like 20 seconds. I was like, oh my God, I blew that. That was terrible. I was so embarrassed, right? And I went home and I just had that like post-audition, post-show like remorse, regret, where I was like, like playing it back in my head over and over again of how I could have done a better job. I get a phone call the next morning. She's like, yeah, you booked that job. It's with David Fincher for a new show on HBO. Like, this never happens. So like, don't get used to it, but like, woohoo. And she was right, because then I didn't book any work after that for like 6 months. but that began like a whole other kind of side quest in my career, where I had this TV thing going on. So I did the show with David Fincher. I got to work with him for the day. Incredible. Unfortunately, the show ended up, they sunk like $30 million into this show. And then I guess they wanted to go back and like rewrite some stuff, and then like totally dropped it. So the show never came out. And one day I'm going to find that footage. I'm going to find that footage and I'm going to post it on the internet.
As you should.
Yeah. So that, and then I did, like a McDonald's commercial. I had a show on Nickelodeon. So like that was more or less what was like, I was getting by on, when I first moved to LA, was the TV stuff. And then I didn't actually start touring like full time, not until 2019, like the beginning of 2019. I always still was either doing some sort of media thing or also writing, and also local gigs and things like that. So it was a lot of, a lot of different things, man. You cannot be afraid to like branch out and diversify, especially with your income. There's this like weird mentality around success in the arts that like you're successful if you're, sustaining yourself on this one thing, which I guess is a definition of success to some people, and that's fine. But I think that's also can be like a kind of toxic thing, where it's like you have these gifts, right? And there are so many more ways to use them than you could possibly imagine. And if you open your heart and your mind to it, there's a lot of opportunities to give your talent, in different ways.
Well, and especially here in LA, I mean, with just how expensive it is, it's like you're kind of, shooting yourself in the foot a little bit if you're not willing to at least new opportunities and new alleyways of bringing in revenue, you know? So, I think
I just spilled some coffee on myself. Full disclosure.
Oh, really?
You can put that in the interview. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna highlight that. That's gonna be in the Instagram clip. So right now, I know that you said, talk to me about what you got going on now. I mean, I know the social media thing is working really well for you. Are you kind of putting more time into that? I know you have a release that's coming up very soon. Whatever you can talk about that would be great too. But are you kind of putting your time into both original music and the social media thing? Are you more focused on one? What's your kind of like your game plan right now?
Yeah, great question. So it's kind of a split, and there's a limited amount of time in the day, and the TikTok thing has made me realize that has made me truly understand, that there are limitations. And
well, your TikToks are intricate too. Like you can tell that, I can tell some of those videos are taking you a while to really put together and edit. The Harry Potter one had me dying, but I can tell those take so long to make. And it's like that does cut into time that you could be spending doing other things. But yeah, do you find yourself kind of battling with that?
Battling? I don't know if battling is the right word. I have my ADHD time cube here.
Nice.
This helps you just, put it on, whatever time you need, and then try to hold yourself accountable. It's a blessing. I'm never going to complain about having a lot going on. Especially like I said, being able to use my gift in so many different ways. I thrive on that. I really enjoy that. But it is challenging, to manage your time. And, for me, since TikTok and now with, things changing through COVID and there being more live work and session work and, just with everything else I have going on with brands and stuff, I try as much as I can to consolidate and have one thing inform the other. So, if I, want to, I don't have a lot of dedicated practice time like on guitar, but I use that time when I'm doing content or something as my practice time. So like if I'm doing a remix for a client for a TikTok, that's my time. If I'm doing a session and I need to do a live or I need a piece of content, I'll film the session, and then one's informing the other. So hopefully there's some like cross-pollination happening, and then I can get, content and the creative expression and maybe financial recompense or something if there's, because I have so much going on. So it's a challenge, but it's not a battle, and I never complain about it.
Absolutely.
I think that, as time goes on too, I imagine that I'll get better and better at it too, because it's a new thing for me, just as much as anything. So it's been really just the last year and a half that I've even had TikTok, a little over a year and a half now. I guess 20 months or something like that I've even been on TikTok.
Was there like a specific video that you made that kind of went viral and that really, started to boost your numbers, or has it, because I see you post consistently. So I was curious if like there was one video that kind of started going viral and that just kind of brought a lot of traffic, or if it was more so like you've just been so consistent with it and the content that you've been making has been gaining so much traction, if it was more the consistency or if there was like one that really kind of boosted it,
Yeah. Great question as well, because in my experience, the algorithm is, they call it humble talk. It's like everyone's trying to figure it out and break the algorithm and this and that. And I get it, like there's, a demand and you want to create viral content and you put your time and your effort into this thing and you want people to see it. But if I've learned anything from my time on TikTok, it's that I know nothing about TikTok, which isn't totally true. I mean, I know quite a few things about TikTok, but I can't predict because it's so rapidly evolving and they're always, shifting. You have to adapt really fast. So for me in the beginning, it was a very different app. I'm still considered like an early adopter, which is funny to me because, Musically rebranded to TikTok, I don't know, at the end of 2017 or something like that. And I didn't start posting until the end of 2020. But it was kind of just before the window, that first window closed on virality, where, there was now paid space. So like when TikTok kind of moved from the startup growth model to the ad revenue model and started to have some sponsored ads and things like that in feed, it definitely changed the nature of the app. Like, it was totally the Wild West when I started. So I was posting videos, consistently, like 18 videos a week, and had slow, steady growth up to like 10K. I had like 1 or 2 videos in there that got like maybe 100,000 views. And I was like, holy crap, that's amazing, And then kind of right around the beginning of 2021, Troye Sivan had posted a video. There was that stitch going around that was like, can you share with me one thing that, a specific thing that you know about because of your job? Like share a fact a specific fact that you know because of your job. And Troye Sivan was like, so those things we were on stage, the in-ear monitors, I forget sometimes like the city that we're in. So I have them like remind me like, oh, we're in Dubai, we're in London, we're in, Jakarta or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, that's so true. And the video blew up and people were like, oh my God, I had no idea. That's amazing, blah, 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 blah. And it was kind of an eye-opening moment for me because being in the business for so long and just, these are just the tools that we use like every day. You don't think about it from the point of view of a music fan where you're like, oh, that's really fascinating, And I remember that. I remember seeing artists on TV and stuff like with the in-ear, like popping it in and out and the whole thing. And like something about it seemed like arcane and like cool, it was like, there was a fascination with it. So that video was like, showed me that there was definitely an audience there for me to like dive deep into kind of the like tricks of the trade, the things that we might take for granted as, professional musicians that other people are really interested in. So I kind of did a reply to that video. It wasn't a direct reply, but I posted a video. It was like how IEMs give musicians superpowers was kind of the premise. And I just started sharing, kind of, what IEMs are, what we can do with them, the hidden uses of IEMs. Funnily enough, I was actually on a gig at the time and I filmed like the packs and the ears on that gig, to make the most out of the time. Like you were asking me before, how do you juggle the things? I was like, well, you just turn it into content.
You got to, yeah. You got to film it any way you can.
Yeah. So I posted that video. And that video did really well. It got like almost 1 million views. But someone replied to that and asked, could I show it with audio examples? And that was the beginning. So I posted, the next video I posted was a reply to that. And I shared examples. And that video it got like 6 million views. And then for months, I basically just replied to comments from that video, sharing, more kind of behind the scenes stuff. And then that grew into a whole series where I would do like the point of views and like go through sound checks and, kind of just found this whole niche and this whole audience that were just like curious people like I was. And that was so cool because then I was able to reconnect with that like excitement around the little things with music and then like share that. And, I have all this knowledge that I didn't know was so valuable. And then you find this audience for it. And that's kind of how it like, that was the big first push for me on TikTok that kind of like got me into the level where I'm at was from sharing that knowledge and from that whole series that went on for like months and months and months.
Absolutely. It's fascinating how, just by doing it and creating the content, you find something that kind of works that, you wouldn't even realize there was an actual audience for. And then when you start listening to the people who are in the comment section and who are the audience that you didn't even realize you were finding, then all of a sudden, like you said, they're almost the ones giving you the ideas for the next, they're the one telling you, hey, this is what we want to see. And then, you got to be able to capitalize on that and then add, be able to create the content, and it seems like that's kind of what happened with you is like you found something that worked really well. And that's for me on my YouTube channel, same thing. I had no idea that some of the videos would be as popular as they are. And I just started listening to what the comments said, people saying, we want to see this, we want to see that. And I feel like having that mentality is definitely what helps kind of push you towards the, being successful at it.
And it's about them at the end of the day too. That's the thing that a lot of people miss, especially in the arts, is that it's an ego trip. It's all about them. It's all about me. I'm the star. I want to be famous. I want to be the actor, the musician. I want the Grammy or whatever. But that doesn't just happen. Like that's, that validation and affirmation comes as a result, as a consequence of providing value, truly. And that's the thing about this industry, is that you're entitled to nothing, creatively. It's the kind of thing where if, you can do what you want to do, you can be what you want to be if you're good at it and they're hiring, and I adapt that to my audience on TikTok. It's, if you're providing something of value and there's success around that, that's a beautiful thing, but you can't really manufacture that. Like, you have to be providing something, whether
Absolutely.
that's in the form of entertainment or education or documentation. But that would be, no one asked for it, but that's something I believe deeply. And that would be my greatest unsolicited advice to anyone in a creative field, is that, like, really ask yourself, what value are you providing? And that's it's a hard question to ask sometimes, because it's such a personal thing, but it really is about your audience at the end of the day. I learned that from TikTok as much as I learned that from doing like the really high level touring, like the arenas and the amphitheater level touring. Because when you go out and you tour on that level, like, you're such a small piece of that. Mm-hmm. And I would go out with these bands that have been doing it for years and years and years, and they had such a blue collar mentality. It's like they're providing a service. Mm-hmm. You're a service provider, like any other service or any other job, and it's truly humbling.
Absolutely. Yeah, that all makes total sense. And I think that's great advice. We're running up against the clock a little bit. So I just wanted to give you some time to say what you can about the release you have coming up, if you want to talk about that at all. And then also kind of like drop your socials, handles, all that stuff, where people can find you and check out your stuff.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah. So I have a new song coming out on the 10th of June, June 10th. It's called Polyjuice Potion. It's my first instrumental release. I kind of took inspiration from a lot of the kind of down-tempo R&B, hip-hop stuff that I love listening to. I wanted to blend that with a guitar-driven track, but I wanted to get outside of the box of like traditional, guitar music. I'm a very strong believer in, the guitar needs to evolve. Its place in music needs to evolve. I think that there's a lot of gatekeeping, and I think guitar fans can sometimes be the worst enemy of the guitar. There's the assumption that like only old ideas are good. And if new ideas are good, it's because they sound old or they're copying old ideas. So I think the guitar needs to like find its place. I don't have the answer, but I'm just creating from the heart and hoping that, it resonates with some people. So I kind of approached it from the point of view of, what if the guitar was like, this voice, like an MC or a vocalist, but it came in, in these explosions. And then you have, the drums and the sample or the electronics, like driving the track. It's not like a riff rock. It's not like riff based, or the riff is not on the guitar. I thought that would be a really cool way to approach it. So that comes out on June 10th. I'm at Dre DiMura on everything. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. I'm launching a Twitch in June. Probably right after the single comes out. So head over there if you want to catch some lives. And I have no idea what we're going to do on there yet. It's going to be exciting to figure it out. So come drop in and let me know what you want to see, and we'll build another community on there. Awesome, brother. Awesome. I appreciate, like I said, I appreciate you taking the time, man. June 10th. Anybody who's checking us out, go, it's going to be everywhere. Yeah. Spotify, iTunes. Yeah. Everywhere. I'll, the pre-save. I don't know when this is going to air, but the pre-save will be live Friday, May 27th. The song comes out on the 10th, and then there'll be a play-along video that comes out after that. I also have a featured solo on a song with a band, with our really good friends, Rose Colored World, RCW, called No One's Home. That comes out on June 3rd. So check them out as well. I play the solo on the track and helped write it. Hell yeah, man. I'll be checking it all out too. So again, brother, I appreciate you being on. Good luck with everything. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate your time. Man. It's been a pleasure. It's really nice talking with you. Yeah, June 10th, song drops, and I'll catch you next time, brother. I'll be looking out. Awesome. Take care. Thanks again. Thank you.